It's 2040 in Tokyo as Reito professes his undying love for Arisa, but she seems to think he's a little late. Well, he won't be around after next year since he's contracted cellular sclerosis. He must go into cold sleep for 4 to 5 years before the cure is developed and doesn't want to ask Arisa to wait for him. However, she just walks away. Reito arrives at the hospital with his siblings Ryu and Maharu where his doctor Takagi prepares to send him to his slumber. Arisa dashes in at the last minute and he asks her to hold on to his locket as she promises to wait for him. Reito wakes up 5 years later and sees a girl similar to Arisa. He's been fully cured but gets suspicious when he learns he can't yet see Dr. Takagi or his family. He's traveling in a limousine with tinted windows accompanied by the girl who welcomed him and 2 bodyguards. The girl introduces herself as Suumira, his dedicated attendant. She explains that 4 years ago the MK virus spread globally and killed the infected within 3 days. The world's population has dropped to half and the most advanced AI has still not discovered a solution or vaccine. He jumps out of the car and is shocked to see an entirely different neighborhood as he frantically searches for his family and Arisa. What's stranger is that only women are around, and Mira explains MK stands for the male killer virus. Only a few men remain in cold sleep while the rest are dead, and Reito is one of the 5 men currently awake and active. Due to his immunity, Mira asks him to mate with the women. He refuses, so Mira sends in Maharu to persuade him. He's relieved to see she's safe and Ryu is in a cold sleep as well. However, he's heartbroken to learn Arisa's been missing for 3 years. That night, Reito lies lamenting Arisa when Mira enters his room, strips, and makes romantic advances. However, he declines because he can't be the only one having a good time during a pandemic. Mira's colleague, Naniko Isarubi, feels pity she has to deal with such a wimp. Meanwhile, Reito thinks he can locate his locket to find Arisa. The next day Mira guides him to a room full of naked women to take his pick, but he asks for a month to find Arisa because if there's anyone he'll mate with, it's her. Mira agrees on the condition that he'll allow one of these women to seduce him before the month ends just because she wants to test if he'll give in to temptation. Kyoji Hino claims to be in paradise. Moreover, Naniko arranges for him to mate with his favorite actress for that day. Maharu, Mira, and Reito have dinner together prepared by the finest collection of chefs in the world. Mira seems to have a healthy appetite as she orders a second serving and offers to finish Reito's dessert. Of course, he comments about her eating a lot and Maharu marvels at her perfect proportions despite her diet. According to their agreement, Reito must sleep with a bodyguard and nurse every night in the same bed. On the way to his room, he encounters Hino who advises him to enjoy it while the entire world's falling apart and Reito is surprised anyone can be so cheerful about it. Reito is in the shower when suddenly the lights go off as Akane Raizoji tries her best to seduce him with some wine. However, he passes out and wakes up in his bed to see her sprawled across the sofa in her undergarments. Moreover, Reito also finds Sui, a small girl, sleeping in his bed. The next day they visit Arisa's lab where she was known to work when Reito is unexpectedly attacked by a bear. He gets a scratch before Sui somehow defeats the bear while Akane rips off her shirt to tie his bandage. However, they don't have any luck at the lab since most of her research has been stolen, but Reito is determined to find a cure. Arisa sees his message. Reito discovers a smart band inside one of Arisa's stuffed toys he has received from her lab. The band contains a recording of Arisa revealing top-secret information about how the virus was man-made and how much she missed him. Mira apologizes for putting him in danger at the lab. A group of people analyze the entire world's situation. Back in 2040, Shota Doi is shown being bullied at school by Takamatsu. He's practicing the piano when his teacher Yuzuki Hanu makes him feel better but realizes he's sick. He visits the doctor later only to discover he's been diagnosed with cellular sclerosis. Yuzuki tries to get him to say goodbye to the rest of his class before he leaves for his cold sleep, but no one seems to care since they're too absorbed in their own lives. Since he's also relieved he'll never have to see them 5 years from now. He says goodbye to his sister on the phone since she can't visit him and his father is busy at work. He's put into his slumber all alone and is finally awakened by his beautiful attendant Karen. She shows him to his room but feels awkward when she does everything for him. H's father is in a cold sleep while there's no news of his mother and sister. He's introduced to a school just like his previous one and enrolled in a classroom of only girls, though he's not complaining about not seeing his former bullies again. Karen takes him to visit Yuzuki after class and she's thrilled to see him. Yuzuki calls him to her room that night to discuss something important and he, of course, he complies and ends up with her in her room. It's not long before she strips entirely and pounces on him. Doi is not going to lose his chance and finishes inside her. The next day in class, Doi wonders about how it was probably just a one-time thing when more of his classmates, Ikiju Natsu and Hiragi Shunka, compete for his attention. During gym, all the girls attempt to impress him as they play volleyball, but he accidentally ends up injured. Later on, Yuzuki finds Doi in the music room playing piano all by himself and takes the opportunity to seduce him again, as this time she wants him to play with her. Karen reports back to the Union of Women on her progress with Doi. She tells them she's not going to fail since the girls enrolled at the school think he's the last man alive. It's no surprise that Doi's now obsessed with Yuzuki. She wakes him up with a kiss, and since school is off they decide to spend some quality time together but end up doing the deed again. Karen drags him off to gym class since all the girls will be swimming today but ends up in the water. He notices how amazingly perfect Akira and Shunka's bodies are as they race, while Chifuyu wants to be number one as well. Akira bends down to apologize to Doi for hurting him with the ball the previous day, but Chifuyu pulls off her swimming costume, entirely exposing her rack, and Akira responds by throwing Chifuyu into the pool. It is Ikiju who wins first place and makes her way to Doi's room later that evening. Since Yuzuki has cancelled, he lets her in, and Karen calls him saying that the air conditioners stopped working, so she'll be staying in his room. Moreover, the swimming competition was to decide who would get to stay with him. He gets dressed for school the next day and finds it odd that Ikiju is still in her night clothes. She asks for his help to change, and she can't do it on her own. Thus, he does as he's asked and does his best not to look. During break, he confirms Ikiju's excused with the other girls and feels some sense of relief when it's confirmed by Karen and the others. However, he feels Yuzuki is ignoring him since she refuses to let him come to her room, saying it's a biological issue. Later that night, Ikiju ends up in Doi's bed, and it's not long before the two of them are making out. Things get heated even more as she pulls him on top of herself and they make love. Meanwhile, Reito has been busy researching the virus, and Mira informs him of how Maharu has been spending a lot of time in the refugee area. Ikiju kisses Doi again after they wake up because Hino shows Reito pictures on an ultrasound, proudly saying he's going to become a father. Doi sees Yuzuki again, who says he belongs just as much to everyone else as he does to her, which makes him suspicious of his surroundings and the situation. Doi confronts Karen, and she confesses that the entire school was put together for him to mate with as many girls as he can. She assures him all of them like him very much, as an entire classroom of girls willingly strips down to prove her statement. The UW decides to remove Mira as Reito's attendant. Ryukatajiri walks up to him, accusing him of attacking every woman he sees. She basically calls him a pervert and walks away. Suddenly, he is summoned by Mira, who breaks the news to him about how she's not going to be assisting him any longer since she's failed at her job of getting him to mate. He is officially introduced to Ria and Kuroda Maria, his new attendants. Reito, Kuroda, Ria, and Sui all board a train to Cayman City, where they're visiting a hot spring. They're actually looking for someone who can help with their research, and Mira and Akane are in the cabin behind them. Kuroda gets startled by Reito and accidentally spills her drink on her clothes. She goes to the bathroom to clean herself up, and Reito follows to apologize. He presents his theory about the virus being man-made, and she opens the door to the bathroom and says they'll discover more clues when they arrive at their destination. They arrive, and the girls are in a fairly good mood except Ria, who seems to be pissed that everything's not under her control. Of course, being one of the last men on Earth comes with its added advantages, but Reito wishes he could enjoy an outdoor bath in the springs. That's easily solved with holograms, and what's more is the girls think it's a good idea to join him stark naked as they enjoy making him wash their backs. The next day, they visit Ms. Taniguchi, the widow of the first victim of the virus. She's already told them everything she knows, but she's done with life. Still, she's not much help, but she's shown talking to Arisa on call as she wonders why she won't speak to him. They try to get her to open up again and give them details, but they fail. She's surprised to hear Reito won't mate with anyone since he's in love. A strange American girl, Chloe, finds Reito in the sauna, where she pretends to pass out so he can carry her outside. She insists he should feed her with his mouth and is caught in the act by the rest of his friends, who feel betrayed. Taniguchi is close to sharing details after she observes how dedicated Reito and Arisa are to each other. However, someone intentionally sabotages her recovery in the hospital, so her condition worsens. She gives Reito a picture frame, and he promises to hold on to it till she improves. Sui, Reito, and Kuroda visit the hospital where Tachibana's husband was first brought. As strong as she is, Sui is still afraid of ghosts and clings to him. Meanwhile, Hino is having the time of his life, but he does feel like he's getting bored of the same thing every day and wants something new. Akane is suspicious that Taniguchi's been poisoned since she observed the way her medical reports changed. She suspects Ria because she saw her that night, but she claims to be writing a report to her bosses. Ria and Kuroda return the picture frame to Reito after scrutinizing it for bacteria. Realization hits Reito as he runs to the nearest bathroom and uses Arisa's band to scan the photo frame. A screen pops up revealing the process of how to create the virus. He really doesn't know who to trust. Hino goes out to the refugee camps to find someone else to mate with, and Maharu catches his attention. Ria asks her sister for a favor. Reito has gone through the paper, but some data seems to be missing and he needs help. Kuroda reveals her superiors won't grant her access to more research materials since their technology is more focused on food production. The UW Council is worried about riots in Japan, so Ria suggests Reito should distribute rations to calm them. Akane and Kuroda apprehend Reito in the showers because they suspect he has some information on the virus. Moreover, Akane's mother, Kahara, is on the board of directors for the UW, but she still has no faith in them. Ria interrupts them and then visits Mira, whom she claims to love but is rejected. During their excursion to the camps, someone aims a sniper at Reito, but Ria's sister takes care of it. Hino enjoys drinks with Maharu, who's extremely uncomfortable, and leaves. Reito, Akane, and Kuroda find a window to momentarily escape and use the old underground computer network to continue their research while Sui protects them. Kuroda discovers the names of her friends, Yamagata Hatsumi, Kimura Kana, Sakai Mayumi, and Kurata Ryoko in the hospital records while they're supposed to be in America. Karen presents a box for everyone to draw from and decide who's going to be his roommate. Each of them tries their luck to be the winner, but Doi doesn't like being treated like a prize. A really beautiful girl wins the draw and approaches Doi in the restroom, but he has flashbacks of his trauma from being bullied there and runs away. He runs to the teacher's office where he used to hide whenever he needed to get away. Shunka appears at the door behind him and they sit down to have a heart-to-heart. He tells her she's been bullied after she observed the marks on his body at the pool, and she unbuttons her shirt to reveal the bruises on her chest. This office is her hiding spot too, and she insists on seeing his bruises as well. Doi takes Shunka back to his room when the winner, Yanagi Rika, is upset because Doi doesn't know her name and has brought another girl along. She's hurt and the two of them get into a fight, so Doi runs away. He sees Akira on her night run and he can't resist her giant melons as he fondles her. The next day he apologizes and helps her clean the gym equipment, but she locks him in the closet, ties him up, and has her way with him. Karen decides to have him sleep with a different girl every night since a week is too long. Moreover, his assigned girl will also take care of him during the day when she won't be around. Yanagi is the first since she was forced to stop being his roommate. Doi accidentally scrapes his hand and finds himself in the nurse's office where Karen leaves him in Ikechu, Shunka, and Akira's care. Doi comes across Chifuyu in the science lab because she feels she's not good enough to receive his attention. He kisses her forehead and asks her to wait until she's older, but she runs off to complain to her elder sister, Kuroda. Doi's world seems to shatter when Kren informs him Yuzuki is transferring schools and he didn't even get to say goodbye. And Karen introduces a transfer student, Hashino-shin, a girl from his class, before he went into a cold sleep. Doi has a flashback from his previous life when a girl like Shin wouldn't give him the time of her day. He would love to screw her, but one day she saw him being bullied while she enjoyed her lunch. Now she approaches him kindly, asking for his help. Doi uses his situation to his advantage and asks her to strip. However, he's just joking because he can't possibly help her after how she treated him. All the other girls refuse to help her, and Karen tells Doi that Shin couldn't fulfill her dream of becoming an entertainer. She asks Doi to help her out because if she's part of his harem, the UW directors will want to work with her. Karen makes Hoshino attend school in just her undergarments, and Doi agrees to help her out. He summons her to the roof after school ends and agrees to talk to the UW about getting her a job if she agrees to sleep with him. However, he makes two other girls stand and watch as they did it on the roof, but she agrees even though she's embarrassed. Doi seems to be enjoying his time here and requests Karen to bring someone for him. Reito and the others continue to investigate the virus and suspect it might have been created at the same hospital where Kuroda's friends have disappeared. Karen presents Erika to Doi as he requested. She's Takamatsu's girlfriend and is chained in handcuffs and dressed in the ridiculous school uniform since she's too old for it. However, she seems to have no shame, so he makes her lick the bruises where her boyfriend hit him. Karen scolds the girls and insists they show some more desperation as he seems to enjoy his time at the school. During their next swimming class, Ikeju sneakily cuts open his swimming shorts so he can't run or hide anywhere. She calls Akira and insists he hides inside her skin-tight costume so she could hide him since she's tall. They wait for the rest of the girls to leave as the three of them get in the pool, and make out. As time passes, Doi has slept with almost every girl in the school while he keeps Erika as his personal pet in chains in her room. One night, she starts to face symptoms of withdrawal since she was a drug addict in the slums. He teases her with the medicine until she's desperate and kisses her. Reito travels to the hospital to find out more and hopefully find Erisa. The UW messenger from World HQ, Mansfield, arrives in Japan because they are suspected to be hiding more men. The Japanese UW Council doesn't know this yet and discusses the situation about how terrorists have been forcefully shut down in Australia and Canada. One of them wonders if they are also going to investigate Izanami, the terrorist organization, but is dismissed. They're worried but instruct the Minister of Technology to stick to their plan. Doi picks a girl with a pixie cut and kisses her, but she claims to be menstruating, so he backs off. Karen is informed of Mansfield's arrival and the girl is shown talking to Erisa later that night, who's ready to execute her plan. Doi is making out with Ikaju and ends up naked with all three of his favorites. Ikaju suggests he and Shunka spend some quality time together. However, Yanagi joins and they end up having a foursome. Doi spends the rest of the day giving in to his lustful urges. Reito, Sui, Akane, and Kuroda arrive at Cayman City Hospital where they discover a duct and think it's a good idea to crawl in together. However, due to the chaos, they fall down in a room where they see the Director of Technology. She claims she can't let them leave alive because they've seen this place. They're about to be attacked but drop down to the ground and are apprehended by two soldiers and Chloe, who's glad she made it in time. Chloe introduces herself as Chloe Mansfield, the messenger from World HQ, as she rescues them in her helicopter before the entire building explodes. Reito is disappointed to return clueless. Doi seems to enjoy his paradise and goes to the extent of conducting orgies for his personal pleasure. Shun wants to leave but Karen stops her escape. Chloe explains they had nothing to do with the work at the lab in the hospital which they just discovered, and they destroyed the facility to erase proof of their involvement. Moreover, Kahara arrests Chloe's assistant, whom she had been hosting, after she confronts her about the existence of other men immune to the virus. However, the situation takes a full 180 when Kahara and two other board members are arrested for manufacturing and spreading the MK virus. Chloe also reveals Erisa has been spotted with a terrorist group opposing UW rule, and Reito is in disbelief. Meanwhile, there's an attack on the school and Kuroda identifies it as her sisters from the helicopter, and Doi has been captured by the terrorists. Doi wakes up in a hospital in Cayman City dreaming of Yuzuki when Karen apologizes for endangering his life, but the terrorists had failed to capture him. The nurses leave and his harem of girls spills into the room, unable to contain themselves any longer. Later that night, Karen asks him why he saved Erika during the explosion if he hated her so much, but he claims it was just a reflex. Doi still thinks he's the only active male, but Karen decides it's time to burst his bubble as she tells him about the other four. Anyways, she's planning to leave Cayman and take him to Tokyo. Doi realizes she's up to something and she admits she wants to be the most important and powerful in the world. Doi agrees to help her achieve her ambitions, and Erisa's friend on the inside reports the situation to her after apologizing since she failed to get him. She's decided to leave the city while Erisa and her group are now in possession of the fourth man and plan to wake him from his sleep. The Director General of the Japan UW orders Ria, Naniko, and Hino to join them at headquarters where Reito and the rest of the girls are. At HQ, Reito learns Erisa is one of the terrorists' leaders, and this keeps him up at night. However, he suddenly receives a notification about the location of his necklace, which shows she's nearby, and he can track her exact location. Akane abruptly enters the room wanting to talk to him. Hino has also decided to stop mating for the time being. Akane and Reito are in the showers to avoid being overheard as she tells him about how her mother is going through a trial for the creation and spread of the virus. As much as she dislikes Kahara, she doubts she'd do something like that, and she doesn't trust Chloe. Erisa hijacks the airwaves and conducts a live broadcast revealing they are not terrorists, as they show Kainmachi Zen, the fourth man, to the rest of the world. She also reveals that UW is responsible for creating the MK virus and are working on a way to reproduce using female genes only. Erisa demands that all the men in cold sleep as well as those immune be handed over to her organization Izanami. Reito unsuccessfully confronts Chloe about what Erisa has just announced. Meanwhile, Akane has no luck with her mother and Reito is introduced to a transformed Doi. Karen uses some new anti-aging technology to help Doi maintain his youth for the next 30 years. Along with a makeover and retina surgery, Doi is now unrecognizable. Karen reunites Kuroda with Chifuyu and they're both glad to see each other. She also meets Shunka, Akira, and Ikaju as she thanks them for taking care of her. Doi is still pining for Yuzuki, but Karen assures him she's been sent somewhere safe after the attack. Reito asks to see Mira and invites her to run away with them. They are in the showers and Mira strips, claiming that she can't go unless he mates with her. However, they are interrupted by Chloe's assistant, Pope, who says they'll both be coming to America with her. She also says Sui and Akane have both been captured, so they can't risk endangering him. She's forcing them to head to the airport when Akane and Sui knock out her guards while Ria and Kuroda take her out as she had held Mira hostage. Meanwhile, Karen and Doi meet Chloe and Karen asks to be introduced to the three magi who created the UW. Chloe promises she'll be given a chance if Doi cooperates. Moreover, Karen asks to be assigned as the Director of National Affairs in Japan. Reito, Mira, Akane, Sui, Ria, and Kuroda all escape and reunite with Maharu, who's been brought to safety by Ria. They stay at a bunker till nightfall, and Ria brings them to a ship that will help them reach international waters. However, Ria and Mira won't be accompanying them, so Reito hugs Mira goodbye, promising to come back. On the ship, they meet Arisa's friend who's taking them to Taiwan, where Reito is finally going to meet Arisa. Maharu hands him a tablet on which Hino calls him, and they decide to stay in touch. Naniko has specially prepared it using an underground system so the UW won't be able to detect it. Naniko asks Hino if he really wanted to leave with Mizuhara, but he refuses. Chloe tortures Pope for letting Reito escape. She then has Mira and Ria in handcuffs, but Ria takes the blame for everything. Sadly, though, they're locked in the cells. It is revealed that Chloe is part of the UW's plan to exterminate all men. Reito and the others finally arrive at their destination, and he can't believe his eyes when he sees Arisa right in front of his eyes. They embrace and decide to work on a cure for the virus together.